hopefully we'll see a couple of these longer, closer games that you promised me yesterday that didn't exist.
I think the middle of the pack games today, the 7 o'clock Barrage in London and Envision and Enclave will probably give you that.
Yeah, I'm very, very hopeful. We're going to jump to a very short break. When we come back, we're getting into Champ Select for our first game of the evening between Bulldog and Demise. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a second. Hello and welcome back to the UKLC. We're getting very, very close to our first match of the night between Demise and Bulldog. And Jamada, we talk about the importance of every single match, and this one is so clearly important because Demise, will they get a better opportunity to grab a win here?
I'm not entirely sure. I feel with Bulldog actually, looking really, really shaky, to put it really bluntly, I'm not really sure if they're going to have a better opportunity than this. And I think Demise, now that they're finally starting to look a little bit better, obviously yesterday wasn't a great showing for that being into Resolve, at least on paper with some of the drafts. And last week into Envision, coming into a team who is performing worse than also Envision, I feel like this is definitely going to be the matchup for them to win.
And as you say, yesterday, they were coming in off the back of a win. They'd beaten Envision, and then yesterday, things looked very improved where they could. So the drafting looked much, much better. The ability, the players in the early game, and they looked much more organized. The problem was then Resolve existed and our Resolve. So there was, as you say, it was a massive mountain to climb. And even with these improvements, Demise couldn't climb it. But coming up against the team in Bulldog, as you can see on your screen, do not have a coach drafting for them. I believe it's still Shicklin.
I think it is still Shicklin, yeah.
Doing the drafting for them. So this is an excellent opportunity. If they can grab a good draft again, and maybe a better one than Bulldog, it's not this huge micro mountain to climb, basically. The players aren't going to be struggling to grab those wins individually as we jump into Champ Select. And let's keep an eye on here to see what Demise want to do.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how Demise are actually going to react in some of the Bulldog picks. And I'm, in a way, kind of curious to see that Bulldog are removing the Camille, because I believe yesterday in Demise's game, when Rifty was actually afforded the opportunity to pick Camille into Nara of all picks, he didn't even take it. He opted into the Wukong instead. So potentially the Camille ban could be a little bit wasted in that sense. But Olaf ban, Seraphine on the red side from Demise, still very much standard. Akali away from Pillar, so curious to see what Bulldog are thinking there. And also going to be removing away the Udyr, which has definitely risen in prominence as a pretty common ban these days.
Yeah, it's very strong. Early game jungler can farm up exceptionally well. We don't have to get Jamada's play-by-play breakdown on the 3 minutes of Udyr clear that we got yesterday. The speed of it was insane, but luckily won't be seeing that this time around. And Pantheon, the last one off the table, so there is still plenty of power here for Bulldog to play around with. The Aatrox was something that we talked about yesterday. They let it through, and it wasn't picked up by Hatch in the top side, and that's another powerful pick. Talia being locked in.
Yeah, so Talia slips through because of the way the bans have gone, and I don't think we've seen Bulldog actually have the tier outside of potentially one game, where I think that was when they were versus Enclave. When Cleanser was on the Udyr of all things, and it didn't go well for him. But so far, Demise, I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. They know that the tier is likely going to be in that jungle role, so they pick a champion which can definitely outscale it in those team fights and can't necessarily be bullied too hard without some lane priority. And then, of course, picking up the Xayah, which a very strong, prominent pick in this meta now. I feel teams and players have sort of readjusted how they feel about some of the AD carry picks, but interestingly, we're not going to see the Kai'Sa response. We're going to see the MF response with the Orianna too. So a lot of strong team fighting out of those two champions for Bulldog, as Demise are now looking to answer.
Yeah, we'll have to decide what they want to go for next. The Galio is going to be the pickup, so a flexible choice here. And already, I'm really liking the look of both of these drafts. Bulldog have got that massive team fighting ability. They've got the Misfortune ultimate. They've got the Orianna ultimate. Talia, everything but the ultimate is insane during team fights. But looking towards the second round of bans, what are both of these teams looking to get rid of?
I mean, I think if you're Demise, you could look to sort of thin out Hachi's champion pool. I like their Renekton ban. I think it would be wise to just remove away the Aatrox, just because it's such comfort for Hachi. On top of that Renekton ban, and I think Demise will be happy. On the side of Bulldog, I mean, you're probably going to have to pay Rakan tax, potentially. I think when you've got the Xayah there, and then you're talking about Hecarim plus Galio, Rakan engage stacked on top of those two things is going to be really deadly, especially when Hecarim can already function as primary engage, and then you can have the Rakan and the Galio to actually follow up on it. So I imagine that's going to be Bulldog's second ban, and I mean, Demise, I feel like you just pay a little bit of respect to Hachi. I think the Aatrox pick could be a little bit too overbearing with what Bulldog are working with, but they actually want to remove away Rakan, the Morgana, which is, I suppose, the counter to Rakan. So now Bulldog can, I mean, if they've got a good read on it, they should just be thinking about the Rakan pick. But let's see, maybe they're a little bit sort of tunnel visioned on Rifty's champion pool.
There's going to be the Rel taken off the table, which is an interesting decision. Is the support, but not the Rakan. So that gives, okay, that's not...
Well, I suppose that's what the Morgana ban was for.
Yeah.
Now it's all starting to make sense. I mean, okay, Blitzcrank, we're working with 3 immobile champions that don't have dashes outside of their flashes. So I suppose in that sense, there's a fair amount of value to that Blitzcrank pick, but a little bit off theme with what Demise were going with, if I'm trying to be super harsh about it. But Alistar, definitely a champion that can work in a very appealing manner into some of these diving champions that Demise are working with at the moment. So always going to be a fine pick, especially in this meta. And then Hachi, I think Aatrox is fine here. If he really wants to take it, there's no reason for him not to, but we'll see what else he might want.
There it is.
There is. I don't know. I'm not too surprised about it. And Demise now, just Rifty's choice of counter pick.
Yeah, what is he going to choose to go into it? We're not going to see the AWP because, you know, not allowed. Rifty doesn't play on in comp. So is it going to be something tankier? There's our answer. The set will be locked in, and this is quite an interesting matchup in the top side.
Yeah, interesting matchup in the top side. It's a matchup we haven't seen since around the sort of midpoint of season 10, I feel like, where, you know, Set eventually sort of transitioned his way into the jungle as opposed to the top lane, and Aatrox also got hit with enough nerfs to be sort of removed from the meta. Curious to see how the matchup goes these days. I think that Aatrox at the moment probably stands a little bit stronger in the meta objectively than the Set does. But, you know, it's a champion set that we don't see in the top lane too often outside of, in this league, DBL. Other than that, I can't globally remember seeing a Set almost period, let alone in the top side. So I think very back and forth. Obviously, both champions with a lot of sustain. I think this could potentially be down to a bit of a skill matchup. Obviously, last time we saw Hachi kind of manhandle Rifty on this Aatrox. We'll have to see whether Rifty wants to allow that to happen again with the set pick.
Of course, this matchup was the same one that we saw on the first day, so it was one of the matchups which saw a lot of teams get rid of this Aatrox from the game, just ban it first rotation. You don't want to be dealing with it, but it's very, very interesting to look at both of these teams because both teams have a little bit of everything you need. They've got team fighting abilities. They've got the ability to engage, both teams with strong primary engage, and there's a Blitzcrank in this game, so he exists too. Okay, this is going to be the main thing I'm going to be watching early game. Blitzcrank, a lot of immobile targets that you want to be hooking in and killing in the early skirmishes and team fights. Also, a big cow that you don't want anywhere near your backline. How often are you going to see this Alistair flying through the entire team fight and just pulverizing the backline?
Okay,
how often is that going to occur?
I'll put down some chips here. I reckon that Poke's going to get hooked at least twice this game.
Okay.
Like in big team fights, not in lane.
In big situations.
Not in lane, in actual team fights. In lane, who knows? We'll have to see if Kuzi's a bit of a smurf with the hooks. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of value to that Alistar pick. Effectively just giving him free backline access if you accidentally hook the Alistar, or if he just, body blocks it for one of his carries. We'll have to see. But I think both of these team compositions relatively defined. I like the theme of what Demise are working with a lot more. I think that compositions along these lines work a lot better in the UKLC, where you basically just move forward. You've got a lot of front line to work with. You've got a lot of base damage to work with. And the composition isn't necessarily going to fall off too hard into the Bulldog composition because of the way they've drafted. Only really, things to worry about in terms of scaling the Orianna and the Talia, if she's allowed sort of free reign into some champions. But realistically, the only squishy on Demise is Zandru, is on that Xayah. So honestly, Zion shouldn't be too much of a threat. I'm actually kind of worried for him as team fights progress because of all of the frontline, but we are here. First game of the day, Will.
On the Rift, League of Legends is about to occur. We've got Bulldog on the blue side, Demise on the red. Nice color coordination there from how the teams brand. And this is a very, very important matchup for both these teams. We keep saying it. Demise, bottom of the table. Bulldog not too far above them and in poor form right now. 4 losses on the bounce, I believe, is their current record, and need to be picking up a win. Both of these teams, excellent opportunity to do so. And Jamada, from the two compositions, which team do you favor going into this one?
I'm certainly favoring the Demise in this one. I do feel though, with a composition that wants to go forward, they have to be a little bit respectful to the likes of VUC and Shiklin on these two champions of Orianna and Misfortune, because if you're going to chase into chokes in particular, it's a very dangerous game to play into a shockwave and a potential bullet time. So have to definitely pay some sort of choke tax, right? They don't really want to walk into chokes, right? If you give them that opportunity to get the wombo combo down, I can see Demise losing out, particularly in some of the mid-game skirmishes. But both of these compositions are probably going to spike at pretty similar times, sort of around that 16 to 17 minute mark, around that third dragon spawn typically in a lot of games. So that's where I expect to see most of our action.
Well, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for that action. We've just got a little bit of latency here, so waiting for these two teams just to be ready and happy with the playing environment before we jump in. But there it is, quick and simple. But I'm really, really excited to see this Blitzcrank pick. It's such a fun champion to watch, and it's one of those champs where if your team is doing well, he's absolutely terrifying because it's an instant death if he can land his Q. But if your team's behind, it becomes a double-edged sword in that, oh dear lord, we don't want to be grabbing anyone kind of situation.
Yeah. What does the champion do, in that, if it's not hitting hooks, or if it's God forbid hitting the Alistar, what is it doing? So yeah, I agree. It's definitely a double-edged sword. Blitzcrank has almost traditionally been that champion in competitive where when he shows up, that execution threshold has to be met, right? He has to hit hooks on the key targets. Otherwise, he's kind of just a walking meat shield, which doesn't really provide much peel or much anything outside of just attacking people with the E, knocking them up for a second. And even that's on like a 7-second cooldown for most of the game. So
yeah,
not going to be providing a lot if he's not hitting those hooks on those key targets. Always the payoff for having the champion, right? It's a very high risk, high reward kind of play style. And we'll have to see, because honestly, Demise seem to have wanted to have played this champion based off of the bans when they just immediately removed the Morgana as opposed to removing Hachi's Aatrox. They obviously didn't really care much if the Aatrox came out. They were more focused on trying to pick up this this champion in the Blitz.
And they got it, and again, Rakan was left available, and it wasn't taken away with the Zyra-Rakan combination being so strong. Not as aggressively powerful as it used to be, but it's still definitely an exceptionally powerful bot lane. Going for this Blitzcrank is going to be massively interesting. I want to kind of point you towards the Bulldog side and to talk about Zion in the jungle, because we saw his debut yesterday. It was fine, but not exceptional on the Nidalee.
Didn't really leave his mark.
No, not at all. But this game is definitely a better opportunity for him to do so. But first pick Talia, priority on the jungle again, getting the champion that they wanted. If this Talia goes missing or doesn't have a good game, Bulldog gave up their first pick opportunity once again for a jungler who didn't show up yesterday too much.
Yeah.
So a lot of eyes there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, now that you mention it, 2 blue side games so far this week, and then both of them for Bulldog have been jungle first picks. Yesterday, obviously forcing the Nidalee a little harder. Talia today, obviously a little closer to traditional meta. Though Nidalee is there, I shouldn't say it like Nidalee.
Yeah, it's not crazy, but, like off the wall.
Typically you will see more Talia first picks than Nidalee first picks. So definitely agree. 2 days in a row of disappointing performances where you get the first pick, you get your choice of champion, would definitely be a little bit disappointing. I feel Talia stands a little more powerful objectively than the Nidalee, though Nidalee obviously has her own set of merits, so whole different conversation.
2 very different champions who are doing different, perform different roles in the team. And the fact that Nidalee was picked yesterday over the Talia, I don't know if Talia was banned yesterday, I can't remember. Hopefully the UK historians will be able to dig that one up from the archive, but keeping your eyes on the junglers in the early game is always really, really crucial. Both have finished their first side clear and are now moving on to opposite ends of the rift. So not going to see too much action between the 2 of those as we just keep our eyes on this bot side, and Bulldog hitting level 2 with that nice push and able to stave off any aggression from Kuzi initially.
Yeah, and I think both these junglers probably going to just go for potentially full clears where they also take up their Krugs as well. With full bottom side prio for Zion, and then also full top side prio for Rifty. And Hankart, I feel like Hankart's going to feel a little more comfortable to pick up those Krugs, and Zion his, as you can see both junglers pathing up towards those camps. And it'll be a very quiet time for both these junglers in the early game, as you see on our screen Rifty getting a nice cheater reset in, going to be able to pick up that call, so he's going to be pretty okay with that one. Be able to eventually cash in the gold.
Nice investment early game.
Yeah, always the pro of getting that cheater reset in. And the additional combat stats if you opt into something like an additional Thorin's Blade or Thorin's Shield, as Hankart actually looking for a potential gank here.
Yeah, moving towards Shiklin. The flash forward has been used, and Shiklin will move down towards that bot side. Of course, Zion is there for support. We might even look for an aggressive play. Poke is running up. Won't be quick enough to the draw there, but Vayusi in a lot of trouble. Now his support's gone. He's going to get taken out. Zanju with the first blood, and Poke returning to a lane. No carry there. Zion has joined, but on top of a ward, won't be able to get a return play off, and that's the risk. You leave your marksman for a second in that bot lane. Blitzcrank gonna hook.
Yeah, and that's really, it's almost solo Q-esque, right? Your support roams up to assist something going on in the river or in the mid lane, and your AD carry just dies 2v1, and they had the wave crashed up, and that's why Poke was there as, flash forward from Rifty.
Might be caught here. Hankart gonna get the knockback. Hachi does have flash, but he decides to use it, going very, very low, and will have to use it to stop any final bits of damage. Rifty knocked up under tower, not the best opportunity for him, but he will be able to walk away alive.
Yeah, Hachi almost clipping Rifty with that Darkin Blade underneath the tower. If he did catch him underneath the tower with that knockup, I assume Rifty would have taken another tower shot, and it would have definitely been a nice retaliation from Hachi, but not quite. But flash for flash, top side. I think Demise will probably be okay with that one, and blowing Hachi's teleport, I think the important thing from the backside of that play. But yeah, definitely very curious as to how VUC actually ended up in that situation when they definitely hard crashed the wave. So must have just allowed themselves to have been hooked, because Kuzi didn't even flash for it. So it's very, very curious. But first blood nonetheless goes over to Zandru. Gonna pick himself up the Berserker Greaves, so he's gonna be attacking a little bit faster than that Misfortune for the immediate future. Dragon spawned up, so I would imagine, given the compositions, Demise should probably want to play for this a little more.
Okay.
But, oh, hello.
It might be a little bit of trouble. Gonna be headbutt pulverized, but shouldn't be too worried. Missing the hook wide onto poke, as Pillar is there to make this a 2v2 if they had decided to fight. National looking to get the engage onto Shikley. He's gonna be tossed up. Handcat coming in from the top side, but isn't gonna be quick enough just yet to jump onto Shikley and poke, and will be forced to back away. Lots of time from both teams being put onto this mid lane, and nothing being gained too much by either team just yet.
Yeah, I mean, seems a little bit disjointed, if I'm honest, from this Demise mid jungle. And honestly, whilst all this has been going on, because Honka's been focusing so hard on trying to get some mid ganks down, Zion, I mean, again, like, all right, well, I guess we're fine.
We're going to have another one. Poke is the one who has been caught out. No ultimate available means he's going to be quite the tender piece of beef, but the ultimate coming down from Galio hits no one as he goes low. Zion is there looking to get one more ability down. Pillar is able to stride away for now, but Zion flashing forward, looking for the kill. Can't find the last one. Yes, he can for the first kill of the fight. Going to be backing away. Kuzi still has that hook available, so is shielding and warding members of Bulldog away from the tower. With a big minion wave, they can definitely hide in. It forces everyone to back away.
And the thing is, Will, this could have realistically been a lot worse for Demise had Shiklin actually had access to the Shockwave. They were all dogpiled on top of each other, all three of them. If the Shockwave was there, I guarantee that would have been probably a 3-0 sweep for Bulldog. And it's just a lot of forcing going on, trying to abuse the fact Shiklin doesn't have flash. I get it. But Bulldog, they've been there to support their mid laner, and it seems just now a little bit too overforced. This finally cost them. And what I was trying to say before we got that pretty random fight was that because Honka's been focusing so hard on trying to gank the mid lane, Zion's actually accrued himself a bit of a gold lead and a bit of a CS lead in the jungle department, which in this matchup realistically shouldn't be happening. So a very big plus for Zion. He's already hit level 6, and Honka only now just ticked over that point from the blue buff for a reset. So Zion, honestly, really comfortable. A full level up, actually.
Which is going to be an excellent position to be in for the Talia. Has that Weaver's Wall available, so could look to cut up team fights or get people caught out if they overextend. On that bot side around Dragon, could be an excellent time to use it, and going to be starting this one up. Priority in bot lane, priority in mid lane as Pillar has moved up into the top side jungle, and this will be free going over to Bulldog, and very, very easy to grab this objective. And you said that Demise were probably the ones with the priority who wanted this one a little bit more, but a couple of minutes later, is secured by Bulldog, and now the top side Pillar gets a nice taunt looking to return something for that Dragon. Will be able to pick themselves up a kill in the top end, but is that worth it?
I mean, they're just trying to make something happen on the top side whilst they know they're giving up the Dragon. And now Demise are going to have to most likely suffer the consequences of this top side play, as Bulldog and co all surrounding a bottom side tower, but Hachi missing a really big wave, and of course all the plates going over to Rifty. We're also going to see Honka pick up the Herald as a... Okay, well, he tried.
Looking for
Kuzi,
the hook.
Yeah, Kuzi tried. It would have... If we're talking small optimizations, if Honka actually went for some of those jungle camps before the Herald, would have been a little bit better. Zion's jungle camps, that is. But still, nonetheless, the gold trade definitely all in all in favor of Demise. Getting those plates, making Hachi miss the waves as well. But Hachi's trying to freeze the wave up a little bit just to recover... Did you see that?
Yeah, a little bit of a shadow sword or something hanging around. No idea what that was, but
yeah. I hope on stream that was visible, because that looked pretty weird. But yeah,
everyone just thinks we're losing it at this point. Just we've watched too much UK League of Legends recently. Yeah, we're starting to see things. Yeah,
we're starting to see things. But Honka does have the Herald in hand, but he is still a full level down to the Talia, which isn't ideal. But of course, spoke briefly about the scaling in team fights that these two champions do have to offer. And of course, the Hecarim sort of functioning as a bit of an in for the Galio as well. So both these two champions can be functioning slightly differently. As again, Demise actually posturing as if they want to try and bully Hachi, trying to get some week 1 revenge.
And I mean, this is the kind of play that you're making when you're confident to go for the dive. 3 members are there, but Pillar might pull the trigger a little bit early. The taunt isn't really going to land, and now members have to be running past the tower to try and get onto Hatchet. He's going to be able to flash away. World Ender was also used, so Ultimate was burnt by Hatchet alongside that flash, but he does stay alive. Members of Demise committing a lot of time there, but only getting a Summoner and Ultimate. Not really worth it.
Yeah, and curiously, they don't actually opt to drop the Herald on the top side, so they don't want to get that immediate burst of gold. That being said, Rifty is actually doing a lot of work by himself up here, as Bulldog potentially looking for this dive wheel.
Hook has been missed, and there's the ultimate from Misfortune. That's going to be an easy kill going over to Vayu. You see the knockup will not land, but Poke does need to be careful. Burning very, very low as Pillar comes in and grabs himself a kill. Handcat catching out Zion in the other side of the jungle. Going to try and retreat with a nice shockwave, but the Zhonya's was used. The stopwatch was burnt, meaning that Zion could not run away. A little bit of communication breakdown means that Bulldog lose out on the play.
Yeah, I don't know, Zion. I feel like he must have felt like the shockwave was trying to be aimed at him or something. That was definitely not the best timed stopwatch in the world, but yeah, Bulldog, they go for the aggressive play. They get punished. Demise pick up some kills for the backside of it.
Now Rifty moving in towards top, trying to get the punch down, but looking at this replay, not the best dive I've ever seen.
No, not the best. As you just see the Galliot is there. They take down Kuzi very quick, but Poke takes so much damage that once Pillar actually arrives, all it really takes is the flash commitment, and finally Honkat from the top side makes it down here. But you just see Zion, it was so close that it was just definitely a bit of a, you can't even really call it a miscommunication, as Rifty's being run down.
Needs to be a little bit careful. We'll get the second knock-up. Can he get the third? No, Hatchie's going to be forced back away, and a lot of tower shots have been taken. Huncut and Zion both hanging around, making sure their top laners don't do anything too stupid, as everyone is going to be able to move away alive. That Rift Herald is still in inventory, but Huncut does not have very much time to drop it.
Yeah, no, he's working with about 30 seconds, if that, so gonna have to put it somewhere. There are still 2 plates available on the top side, so if he drops it there in this top lane, the tower will fall. But he is making a beeline for the mid lane, so it seems like that's where they want to make the play. Shiklin does have flash for this.
Protocol used forward, Pillar diving in, can't land the taunt, but the Rift Herald has been dropped safely. No Shockwave going to be denying that one. Shiklin might be able to clear this one up if members of Demise don't protect their investment, but one charge will get a couple of plates. No one really in range for them though, so not the best way of splitting up the goal between multiple members, but things are looking okay. Rifty in the top side proves that he don't need no Rift Herald to grab himself plates, as 4 have already been secured on that top tower.
Yeah, and the thing is, whilst Bulldog have been doing a good job of trying to, you know, react to what's going on the top side, again, much like yesterday in the Envision game, they haven't really found much. As Poke and Zion trying to secure this blue buff for themselves, they will get it with Smite. And it's Bulldog with the setup on this dragon, but Demise honestly don't mind. They'll run into Bulldog.
Running in, only managed to catch Poke with the ultimate. No, now the teleport will dissuade members. Members of Demise trying to catch out whoever's coming in. And the ultimate into the back of the team fight is pretty big. Rifty in a lot of trouble though. Has to use that shield, but will be burnt low, will be taken down as Shiklin runs at the back of the fight. Zandru trying to get damage down onto the Misfortune, but he's going to be chased away by Poke on the other side of the fight. Hatchie comes in. Hatchie gets the kill, and now Pillar is in full retreat. Zandru goes down in the jungle as Pillar won't be able to find his way back to the tower. That's an ace for Bulldog around the dragon. They'll get the objective and get the push down mid as well.
Yeah, that's not the fight you want to see from Demise. A little bit too disjointed. We'll get a replay of it, I'm sure, but Bulldog, they are going to pick up this dragon. And let's see how it all kicked off. So the Onslaught of Shadows actually misses out on Zion, is flashed away from. And keep your eyes on the Shockwave, on the ball, on the top side. It's what keeps Zandra and Kuzi so occupied. And Rifty finds a very nice face breaker onto 4. And at that point, you start to think maybe the fight is enough, but it's the bullet time in conjunction with Kuzi not really adding much on the bottom side of the fight. And Zandru being zoned away from dealing any kind of reasonable DPS to the Bulldog front line just means Bulldog end up running through the members of Demise pretty handily. And an ace, 30 minutes into the game, second dragon, all of a sudden the gold lead swings massively in Bulldog's favor. 4K up, pretty much.
And a very early time to have it. Plates fallen off, as you said, coming up towards that 15-minute mark, and this is not necessarily how we expected this matchup to go, seeing these 2 teams playing yesterday, but Bulldog really turned on the style in that last team fight, and we'll have to see if they can do it again in the next one. Kuzi hanging around, not on vision because of that red ward. snuffing any of that out. Vyuzi does need to be careful. Poke is there. The hook lands onto the Misfortune. That's tugging you on, but it allows Poke to get the ring edge. Vyuzi infiltrate using everything to get away as members of Bulldog come in for support. Can Poke find the re-engage? Not just yet, as members of Demise quickly to get out. But look, that's a really nice two-man taunt coming in from Pillar, knocking up Poke. He's in trouble. The Shockwave whiffs, but Poke will be going low. Has the flash over the wall to get away with the ultimate running as well. But in a crazy fight, no one goes down, but a lot of people could.
Yeah, a lot of people definitely could have. Demise and Bulldog trying to basically jostle for control of the river for that Rift Herald, which just warmed up, is why you saw both the bottom sides of the map rotate up to this top lane. And despite the pretty big gold lead, Bulldog actually don't find lethal on anybody, and Zandru going to be able to pick up this tower. So a little bit of gold being returned back into the Demise pockets as Rifty and Hachi really just, okay, well.
There's scrapping. The World Order has been used. Rifty, of course, already used his ultimate chasing Hachi away, but Shiklin is coming to make this one. And Rifty's like, yo, pause real quick. This is a 1v1.
Yeah, so not the best time for a pause. Often teams try to avoid pausing in the middle of small skirmishes like this. Fortunately, it's not a big 5-on-5 team fight. Rifty likely, once the pause has been resolved, going to be taken down here by Shiklin and Hachi unless we see some kind of miracle outplay, but I think in this situation it's looking a little bad. But yeah, pause I think actually comes at a nice time for us to sort of take stock. Game all in all, definitely looking sort of Bulldog favored right now. With that gold lead, with them just getting that ace. A couple of the mythics were coming in. I believe the Orianna has her Leandries, so she's online. Hachi's not quite at that Gore Drinker yet. He's still working on the components. Talia as well on the same path. I've seen Talia's go Leandries and I've seen them go Ludens. I've even also seen them go Everfrost. So I'll be curious to see what the mythic choice actually is for that Talia. I think it's so much frontline, going Leandri is going to be terrible. But we'll have to see. And on the other side, I know that Galio does have that Pro belt or the Rocket belt finished up. As everyone else is pretty much still working on finishing up their mythics with the exception of Zandru, who's got the Gale Force already in pocket.
It's a very, very strong moment for Bulldog because they have these slight item advantages across the board, and getting those mythics before your opponents basically gives you a pretty narrow window to force a play, force a fight. But one thing I've noticed from these two teams, which as we are hopefully going to be moving back into the game very, very shortly, it's been... We talked yesterday and we talked a little bit today about how teams in the UKLC are sometimes a little bit reactionary, aren't always the ones that are feeling super confident in making the plays themselves and forcing the issue. Both of these teams have been trying to do that, but it's not been working out 100% cleanly for both teams. This is the play where Shiklin is coming in as we get back onto the Rift. Rifty in a lot of trouble, can't get that shield and will go down, as you said. But the teams are at least trying to do some proactive stuff, but sometimes it's not looking too clean.
Yeah, and Demise, out of these two teams, definitely been the more proactive of the two, but Bulldog finally finding their members at that dragon fight. The reason we're in this game state at the moment. As Casper freezing in the top lane for now. And Bulldog trying to fish in for some jungle camps, so I'm not going to be able to find them. Herald was picked up by Demise, whilst the commitment was made by Bulldog to pick up Rifty. So again, second Herald going to be in their pockets. No place available, of course, second Herald, but does mean that if Demise find a successful fight where multiple members of Bulldog are down, they can drop that Herald on the aftermath of the fight, or even use it to secure priority in either the top or the bottom side for that dragon spawn in a couple minutes. Or now.
Just drop Rift out mid. It's cool. You want to be getting that ejected down. It does make it easier to fight over stuff like Dragon if you can get rid of this mid lane tower, and the charge will need a couple of more attacks on the back of it. No, it won't actually. It's just going to secure the tower outright because that extra armor has been knocked off from the plates. Not going to be able to get much more than that from it, as it is easily dispatched by Shiklin. But now you can see members of Demise moving into that bot side, grabbing a little bit of vision and recalling because they want to have as many items as they can get before this team fight. You can see Mythics have been picked up almost across the board. Set and Blitzcrank still struggling a little bit, and that's not becoming a moonstone for Nero on the Blitzcrank, is it?
Oh no. No,
No.
I mean, I hope not.
Tell me.
I hope it's an Imperial mandate. If it's
Tell me
gonna
it's
be any.
Imperial mandate.
Oh, actually, wait, no. The item builds, those components also build into Shirelia's, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Whew, okay.
Though I
Good.
I don't know. I don't play supports, so I'm actually unsure on whether the Shirelia's build path is those two item components. I'm about 85% sure. I guess we'll see, but I mean, Kuzi's been reading one too many LS Bibles if he's picking up the Moonstone.
Moonstone Renewer, start off a flowing water blitzcrank. We truly will be seeing it all if that is the pickup. But Dragon on the table in about 25 seconds, and Demise definitely having the vision advantage, control in that bot side river. Members of Bulldog are now moving down, but if they're going into a fight, they will be going into it blind. They have a good lead. Is the information that Demise have enough to give them an edge in this fight over their opponents who might have a couple of components more than them?
I mean, I actually think the key thing is the lack of information that Bulldog have about what's going on in the river right now into a Blitzcrank is the scary thing. You can see Hachi and Vusi over vision right there, as it's actually going to be Bulldog forcing the issue a little.
Reaper's Wall going to split up Demise, but Rifty and Kuzi feeling pretty safe to just hang back and wait for the rest of their team to come through with that wall hook doesn't land, which gives Bulldog a short window to get in and get priority over this Dragon. They're actually going to be starting this one up, and Demise gonna have to look for a safe route in. Poke playing bouncer right now. The ensemble comes in on top of the Dragon. It's gonna be secured by Bulldog, but the fight's gonna kick off. Rifty again going very low in the fight. Look on the side. Honka trying to get on top of Vyus. He will be able to do so, but it's taking him down very slowly. Enough time for members of Bulldog to get in and save him. And Demise do pick up a couple of kills, but are gonna be forced back. Bulldog with 4 members gonna be able to cut down Pillar as Zadra and Kuzi run for the hills. Double kill for Hachi. He's not gonna be able to find any more though, as he is gonna be chased away. But Bulldog again pick up the objective, again pick up the fight, and are looking very clean.
Yeah, and Hachi again just being a menace. The resets off the world ender on the front line, and Demise still a little bit too disjointed on some of these engages. It's why I was very, skeptical about this Blitzcrank pick. It's not necessarily giving Demise too much value right now. As Bulldog off the back of this successful Dragon fight, once again, they're going to pick up that mid lane tier 1. So the map is going to be opened up a lot more for them to try and make plays. A lot of value added to that because you have the Talia in the game. So being able to push and catch waves up super high and then rotate over quickly to someone who may need your assistance is very valuable. But yeah, Demise once again losing out at Dragon. A place where I feel like with their composition, they should be winning out. Even with the item discrepancy, I'm not... I mean, it's large, and the gold lead is definitely very impactful at this kind of stage of the game, but I'm not entirely sure. Composition to composition, Bulldog should be able to survive the dive that Demise actually have to offer at this stage of the game, so definitely very worrying for them. But as things progress, eventually Bulldog may start to struggle into some of the front line as Hachi finds a real nice trade, but Rifty does return some damage.
On the top side though, Zion looking to get on top of Pillar. Will be getting some decent damage, but no CC will land, and Pillar should be able to move back on the tower pretty safely. Is low, so he's gonna play it very safe, but Poke coming through, maybe looking to collapse. Won't be able to find him before the chicken waddles away. But in that last team fight, the thing that really concerned me is that Handcap managed to get on top of Vyusi. And you think, okay, Hecarim diving on top of a Misfortune who's alone for a good couple of seconds before members of the team turned up to save her. That should be a dead Misfortune. But Vyusi had pretty much half health when the likes of Poke and Hachi managed to get back and peel off. And if your good dive isn't doing the damage that's needed to take down a pretty squishy marksman, then something has gone very wrong.
Yeah. Honka honestly just a little too far behind. As things stand 2 levels behind by UC, I'm not sure what the level discrepancy would have been during the fight, but nonetheless, it's Hecarim. Hecarim should be diving onto an AD carry and borderline one-shotting them. So it's not ideal. As you can see, Vyusi's 3,000 gold up on Honka. So if you're wondering why he didn't die, well, I guess that's
just
part of the reason at the very least. Yeah, he
was like, look at all my cash. And then Honka was like, yeah, sound. And then Alistair punched him in the face. But it's, if you can't be making these plays, and you say that Demise's team composition is in a nice, it's in a nice position, right? In terms of levels, where in the game it should be. But if Bulldog are this far ahead in key roles, in key positions,
It doesn't really matter too much.
it's so difficult. And
Yeah.
things are only going to look better and better for Bulldog if they can get the Dragon Soul in 1.5 minutes. We've seen that Demise have struggled around these Dragon fights, and you said yesterday that the third Dragon fight is considered to be a really good barometer for how the game's going to go, and it wasn't an 8 like we saw in the second Dragon fight, but it was 4-4-1, I want to say, in that play.
Like that, yeah.
And you get a soul, you get Mountain Soul. Very nice. You get a nice big shield on top of the likes of your Alistar, which is obviously very good. But also on top of people like Vyusi and Zayan, who, if your Engage and your Hecarim can't get in and get the kill immediately, it's almost curtains for your team at that point.
Yeah, and I think what's very nice about the Mountain Soul in this game, if Bulldog were to secure it, is the Demise front line is so hefty that it's, you know, the Soul shield has a little more value because Demise are only really working with base damage. And some obviously, you know, some scaling damage to it, but realistically, a lot of these champions are going to start building tank items relatively soon. It's not all going to be damage, and with that low damage sort of line, that Mountain Shield is going to be that more effective. But again, same setup, Bulldog are going to be face checking into complete darkness. Thank you, observers, for highlighting that.
But last time they didn't really mind, so this time around again, Hook will miss, and this gives Bulldog the green light to engage. Hook gets a nice two-man knock-up onto Pillar and Zandru. Zandru having to kite all the way back, but there's an Alistar on top. Look at the back, though, as they've already caught out Vyusi, but again, he stays alive for so long and actually gets out of the final line. Members of Bulldog are now returning to their back line, and members of Demise do need to be careful on the side poke. It's actually getting taken pretty low. Vyusi returns, looking for Rifty, getting the damage down, but the flash forward might mean that Rifty can catch up and kill the Misfortune, who's looking to escape, looking to get a little bit on the back, but it's just still running away. Rifty does get the kill, but goes down afterwards, and now there are members of Bulldog looking to chase. Kuzi will be the next target. He falls very, very quickly. Hunka, the last one standing, should be too quick to be caught, but this could be an easy Dragon Soul going over to Bulldog, and while it was a better fight for Demise, it was just because that was so messy.
Yeah, very messy, but even if it was, you could consider it better. At the end of the day, it is going to be Bulldog picking up that Mountain Soul, and here the setup. Again, once that hook is down, that's it. Bulldog say, okay, go. They drop the wall through the middle of the team. It's a very nice flash forward from Pillar to actually interrupt Vyusi's bullet time, and they just don't quite kill him because of the shield coming through from Shiklin on that Orianna. The shockwave hits onto one, and in the backside, we actually saw Zandru just get picked up by Hachi. And from this point, once Zandru isn't there to provide that DPS, you're just working with frontline champions at that point. And if you still got the likes of the Talia alive, still got Vyusi, even though he's, in this case, running away from Rifty, alive, you're just going to be dealing more damage. There is not enough damage to be returned. If you can't use your CC to blow up the key members of this Bulldog lineup, Demise, you're in the mud, really. You're really stuck. And again, it's what we've just seen, and Bulldog off the back of it, they pick up the shield from that Mountain Soul.
Which is going to make things even harder for Demise to pick up the Misfortune. And Vyusi being alive in these fights for so long is a massive issue for Demise, obviously, because the marksman not being dead on the other team means that you're taking a lot more damage. But also it's just a sign that things aren't going well for Demise, because Vyusi's not a particularly mobile champion, not a particularly tanky champion. But if you can't get on top and kill, even when the likes of Poke's on the other side of the team fight having a great time knocking up Zandru, it's massively concerning. And I think we've got to go back to this Blitzcrank pick. It's not engaging for Demise right now, but every single missed hook has been a perfect engage opportunity for Bulldog.
Yeah, it's definitely been more of a detriment, and makes you think back to, I mean, Rakan was open. It was very much on theme with what Demise were looking for in terms of composition. But they opted for this curveball pick, and right now, it might even end up costing them this Baron, which Demise were thinking about contesting. Rifty teleported up. But once the teleport's down, Bulldog just say, all right, let's pull away from the Baron.
Yeah, giving themselves an opportunity to get the teleport advantage in the side lane. There's still one on Shiklin, but Haga looking to pull the trigger onto Poke and Vyusi. He will only land the engage onto Poke, who's gonna get a little bit of help from the Weaver's Wall. The bullet time comes through, not really landing onto anyone's pillar. Looking to get on top of Zion, but takes so much damage running through those stones, just gets deleted, and that is great timing for Zion. Let's not take it away, but really unfortunate for the Galio there. And now the Baron can be potentially started up again by Bulldog. 4v5 on the Rift right now, because Galio is picking shards of rock out of his feet. Hachi on the side, able to get a really nice split push down, knowing that it will be a 4v4, and Hunka on the back is going to be a lot of work for him to try and get the steel teleport coming through from Aatrox now, as they want to maybe start the fight. Looking for the play. Hachi running forward. Members of Demise are very, very quick to leave, except Rifty, who does need to be careful. Goes below half health. It's Hunka looking to get onto Zion on the back. But look how low Rifty is. The shockwave catches him and Zandru, who is also going to go down. One sword to the face is enough for Hachi to secure that kill. And now with Bulldog having the 5-2-3 on the Rift, they're finally deciding, right, let's go back to Baron, and this time, maybe we'll actually finish.
Yeah, and Hunka doesn't have the Onslaught Shadows available to him, so he's not actually going to be able to get inside the pit to steal this one. Would have to be running through multiple members of Bulldog to get, and Poke's playing bodyguard, so it's just going to be the Baron going over to Bulldog. And starting to look pretty doomed. 10,000 gold lead, name of the game for Bulldog, and I mean, it's just desperation, this engage feels like. Going forward with the Onslaught Shadows, and Pillar finds Zion on the side of the fight. Comically one-shots himself on the Unraveled Earth. And from this point onwards, it seems pretty bad for this Demise side. And Hachi teleporting up, actually, I think, in not the best spot, but Shockwave makes up for it, catching onto Rifty and Zandru. With the World Ender active, Hachi just able to chase those members down, and Baron in pocket. Not going to see the same sim we saw from Barrage yesterday. Bulldog actually only working in 2 lanes with this Baron for now. And with the gold lead, yeah. And,
there's time. There's time. There's plenty of time for sitting, but
yeah,
gonna be able to pick up these towers pretty easily in the mid lane.
Yeah, mid lane tower should go down pretty easily. Only one more inner left for Bulldog to take down, but a lot more focus on this inhibitor tower. And I mean, if Demise want to try and make something happen, they're probably going to force it in the next 30 seconds or so. They are really on their last legs with this big of a disadvantage. And how the team fights have been going, Demise, quite frankly, just haven't been able to keep up. The engage have been a little bit too disjointed, and you can see the cannon minions just going to work on this tower.
And Demise can't really do anything about this as the minion wave comes through. The inhibitor gonna be cut to ribbons and going to explode at the 13-minute mark. Shickling grabbing that one. Tachi maybe looks for an engage onto Kuzi, who has the flash away. The Weaver's Wall comes up and just keeps the Blitzcrank away from the rest of his team. Can he land a big hook to start off the what could be the last fight of the game? He only lands it onto Amina as the first Nexus tower goes down. Massive bullet time, massive damage coming through. Hachi is looking to cut through members of Demise. The shielding is good, but Demise are falling. They're being ripped to pieces, and it's just the Blitzcrank, the flash pulverize will secure the ace and will secure the game for Bulldog.
And that's gonna be Bulldog finally breaking their loss streak, their curse. Finally, after 4 games of suffering, take down Demise, and unfortunately for them, drop further and further down the table. Bulldog definitely not happy with our predictions.
No, they were like, hey, we're above them in the standings. We won this matchup in the reverse fixture, and why are you predicting Demise? Yeah, they drafted a good comp against Resolve. They didn't win. And I've got the Blitzcrank.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
No.
Is basically the play here. But I mean, Bulldog, both of these teams look shaky. This was a dominant win for Bulldog, but it wasn't Bulldog playing dominantly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I think Bulldog, whilst obviously we can credit them for this win, they responded appropriately to what Demise were doing.
100%.
I think we kind of have to shift the focus over to Demise from the POV of the engages were really botched. They weren't really, they weren't cohesive. They were very much disjointed, and I've got to ask, what does the Blitzcrank pick do? You have the Xayah and the potential Rakan lane there. You already have the Hecarim and Galio. You can just lock in the Rakan, and you've got a much more free-flowing composition to work with. The Blitzcrank pick just seemed a little bit too overforced here.
Well, we'll have to see what happens next for this Demise roster. It's a very, very difficult one. Bulldog, of course, massive congratulations on the win. We're going to be talking to someone from the winning team as well as Jamada grabbing his crayons for us while we go to a short break. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the UKLC. I'm still Viper and still joined by Jamada, and we're going to be looking over what happened in a post-mortem of that last game. Bulldog picking up their first win in a couple of weeks up against Demise. And Jamada, some questions about this game from Bulldog's side, but they were definitely deserving of this win.
Yeah, definitely deserved the win. They responded very much appropriately to what Demise are actually doing. And despite how much focus Demise were putting into this top side, and honestly, Bulldog in the sort of immediate weren't getting much for it, right? Zandru was being forced off some waves, like he was picking up kill credits on the backside of a few of the dives, and just so much focus early game around this mid laner Shiklin, trying to just take him down constantly. But again, engages here very disjointed, and it felt like that was the theme also of some of those later team fights. And I mean, even this, if Shiklin was level 6 on this play, I mean, that's a 3-man shockwave just waiting to happen time after time after time. And all 3 of those members end up dropping in that play specifically. But in the later stages of the game, it just felt like the frontliners, the engagers of the Demise just weren't really picking their targets properly. And for me, that was the bigger issue, outlining the Demise's gameplay. And again, we briefly highlighted, I have to ask, what did the Blitzcrank actually add to the game and that composition?
Well, we're going to be able to see one of these plays in a little bit more detail, Jamada. We're going to get you proving that you got that C in GCSE art for a reason with this play. But talk me through what was going right for Bulldog and what was going wrong for Demise here.
So I feel like Bulldog, after this dragon, they actually often found themselves not having immediate dragon priority, but they always managed to slip themselves into the river. And in this particular fight, we have Bulldog already on the dragon, and this is actually a near perfect setup for Demise, right? We've got somebody on a flank, and we have the remaining members coming in from one frontal angle. And this is honestly very much fine for the composition Demise are running. It means they can attack Bulldog at multiple angles and very much pick them off one by one. And you see Rifty going with the body slam, the Galio follow-up is there. And from this point, you're like, okay, this is a good fight. Bulldog can very easily clean this one up, but Rifty's already died in the pit to Hachi. And as we'll get this one going, you look at the backline, Vyusi isn't able to actually get dropped by Hankar. He doesn't have the damage for it. And eventually, the frontliners of Bulldog return to give peel to their carry. Shiklin does die in an attempt to escape, I believe, from someone. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he was trying to pick up Zandru. But at this point, the frontliners just all die. Zandru's never able to really put down any meaningful damage. And because of it, without Zandru's damage there, Bulldog's composition is relatively... without Zandru's damage there, Demise's composition is very low damage, right? It's very much high CC, try and chain somebody down or the key carries down and you burst them. But that just wasn't ever really there from the Demise side. And Bulldog played together well enough to not allow Demise to actually split them apart and, take down the key carries.
And we are joined by Bulldog's mid laner, Shiklin, for a little interview. Shiklin, massive congratulations on that win against Demise. It's the first one in a couple of weeks for your team. It must feel like quite a relief to be able to get another point on the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like a rough couple of weeks of us. I think we sort of got a bit overconfident with our 3-0 start, and then started going for things that we weren't necessarily overly comfortable with. And then as the losses started piling up, it plays on the morale and gets in your head. So it's good to finally almost like break that streak and get back to winning ways,
And I want to ask, obviously, going on lost streaks isn't very nice, but what's the road been like, sort of trying to overcome the hurdles, the personal hurdles inside of the camp, to obviously take this win versus Demise?
I mean, I think like when the lost streak started, it was quite difficult. We constantly have been told by like Newt and Pivotless, our manager and owner, to like just try and keep focused and try and keep level-headed and stuff. But we kept on getting distracted from that. And I think yesterday was almost like after the game we were like, nah, we've had enough. Like I can't be bothered with this. Like this mentality is really bad. And we sat down and we identified where like we were slipping up with communication if we would get tilted or something like that, and we wanted to prove it today that we can still do it. And yeah.
Okay. And one last thing, because I feel like it's always sort of part of an interview when a player when a team has taken down Demise. Thoughts on